Welcome. In today's video, I am analyzing two companies, Motocorp and Eicher Motors. These are both into automobiles, motorcycle manufacturing. The current price of Motocorp is 2063 rupees, whereas Eicher is quoting at around 17,775 rupees. The results are up to date till December 2019 quarter. The sales in the latest quarter was 7,000 crores for Motocorp, and sales in the preceding year quarter, that is in the December 2018 quarter, was 7,900 crores. So that's a 10% drop from its previous year quarter, whereas Eicher Motor has seen a 1% growth in its sales YOY. Next we'll look at the profits. Profits in the preceding year for Motocorp was 775 crores, and in the latest quarter it was 901 crores. So that's a 16% growth in profits. So although we saw a degrowth in sales of 10%, we saw a profit growth of 16%. Whereas for Eicher Motors, we saw a sales growth of 1.2%, but a degrowth in its profit YOY of 6.43%. That is from 532 crores in the previous quarter to 498 crores in the latest quarter. Next, let us look at the sales. Sales in the latest year, that is in the recent 12 months, was 30,873 crores, and in 2019 the total sales done was around 33,970 crores. So we see a degrowth in its sales from 2019. That is, in the recent 12 months the sales was around 30,000 crores, and in 2019 it was 33,000 crores. So there's a drop in sales when we compare 12 months to the previous 12 months. Whereas Eicher Motor has seen a degrowth of from 9,700 crores in 2019 to 9,400 crores. Now we can also compare the profit of 2019 with profit of the recent 12 months. So we have seen almost similar profit for Motocorp in the recent 12 months, and even for Eicher Motors the profit has seen a mild drop of around 200 crores from 2019. Now when we look at profit after tax and compare it with the cash generated through operations in 2019, we see that the company had shown a total profit of 33,000 crores in 2019. Rather, the company had shown a profit of 3,300 crores in 2019, whereas cash coming in was around 1,000 crores, which is quite less when we compare it with the profit. Eicher Motor had declared a profit of 2,200 crores in 2019 and had received a cash of 1,572. I would like the companies to show cash which is almost equal to the profit after tax. Motocorp is down around 31% from its 52 weeks high, whereas Eicher is down by around 24%. Historically, for both 5 and 3 years, Motocorp was trading between 19 times and 17 times, whereas Eicher Motor was quoting at 39 times its earning for both 5 and 3 years on average basis. Whereas if you look at the recent price earning, Motocorp's current price earning is 12 times, which means we are paying 12 times more than the earnings per share of the company. So which is below the averages, that is historical averages. Whereas Eicher Motors current price earning is 23 times, which is also below its historical average of around 39 times. So we are getting both the companies at a discount. When we look at price to cash flow, both are very expensive. That is of 2019 latest price to cash flow. Motocorp is quoting at around 39 times its cash earned through operations, whereas Eicher is quoting at around 30 times. So the lower the better it is. Price to book wise, Motocorp is available at 2.85 times, whereas Eicher is available at around 5 times. So we can buy when the price to book falls below 2.5 times, or whatever is the industry standard average. Now let us look at the PEG, profit growth rate, that is price earning to profit growth rate of the last 5 years. So this has to be below 1.5. Now when we look at the price earning of Hero Motocorp, it is 12 times, and Eicher is available at 23 times. So we'll keep this in mind. And when we see the profit growth of Hero Motocorp, it is 12% every year since last 5 years, whereas Eicher Motor is growing its profits in the from last 5 years at the rate of 42%. So we see that at least for the 5 years PEG, even though we are paying a high price earning multiple for Eicher Motors, it is still better than Hero Motocorp, because although we are paying around 30 price earning for Eicher Motor, we are also getting a very high growth rate since last 5 years of 42%, whereas Hero Motocorp is just giving us 12%. And in the recent 3 years, the growth rate in profits has fallen for both. Hero Motocorp's profit growth rate has fallen to 3.58%, whereas Eicher Motor has managed to grow its profits in the recent 3 years at the rate of 18%. So when we look at the PEGs for both Eicher Motor and Hero Motocorp, we see that Eicher Motocorp paying a high price earning is still justified, because we are also getting a high growth in its profits from both 5 and 3 years back. Let us see how the sales are growing for both 5 and 3 years. Hero Motocorp is growing its sales since last 5 years at 6%. Even the growth in the recent 3 years is almost the same, whereas Eicher's sales in the recent 3 years has grown much faster than what it was selling, or how the sales was growing in the last 5 years. Next, we'll look at the return on equity. The return on equity of 2019 is almost the same for both the companies, which is high, because the return on equity should be above 15%. So both of them are generating very high returns on the shareholders' money. So this is a good value. Even when we look at the averages of the last 5 years, return on equity and return on equity over the last 3 years, both the companies have managed above 30% of returns on shareholders' money, which is a very good number. When we look at the total capital employed, that is how much money the company has received through shareholders, that is equity capital plus reserves plus the borrowings if the company has done any. On that, how much is the EBIT, or earnings before interest and tax, that the company is generating. So both the companies are generating a very high returns of above 35% on the total capital employed into the business. When we look at the averages of 5 and 3 years also, we see in above 40% of average returns. So these are very good values to invest in such a high return company. Return on assets is also above 25 times for both average 5 years as well as in the 2019 as well. So these numbers are very high quality numbers. So we have to buy in such high quality companies where it's generating good returns on whatever money it has. In terms of asset turnover, that is how much was the sales when compared to the total assets the company had, Hero Motocorp has managed to generate a higher turnover on its assets. That is, its sales were 2.5 times higher than its assets, whereas Eicher Motors sales was almost equal to its assets. Next, we'll look at inventory turnover. Hero Motocorp's inventory turnover is very high when compared to Eicher's. So Eicher is managed to convert the inventory 19 times more into sales. That is, sales of 2019 was 19 times more than the inventory. Even when you look at 3 years back, the ratio was around 21 times. So it is trading at this particular range, whereas Hero Motocorp has an inventory turnover of more than 38 times over the last 3 years on average, so which are very good values. Let us look at the profit after tax of last 5 years. The total profit generated in the last 5 years was 15,000 crores, and Eicher Motor had generated around 7,700 crores. So compared to Eicher Motor, the profits of Hero Motocorp is almost double. The cash coming in over the last 5 years against the profit of 15,000 crores for Hero Motocorp was around 14,000 crores in terms of cash, and Eicher Motor has managed to generate more cash, that is 8,273 crores against the profit after tax of 7,700 crores. So I want the companies to generate around same amount of cash as as shown in the profit and loss account, or even more than the profit declared. So that means that whatever profits the company has declared over the last 5 years, that is actually coming in through operating activity as cash. So both the companies have done well, although Hero Motocorp has received slightly less, around 500 or 600 crores less than the profit declared. Next we'll look at the free cash flow, that is how much cash the company has with it after doing investment activities, that is buying of assets. So it has earned around 14,000 crores in the last 5 years. Against that, its free cash is still 10,000 crores. So that is, it has managed to invest around 4,000 approx crores into buying of assets, whereas Eicher Motor has invested almost 50% of its operating cash flow into buying of assets, and it still has 4,700 crores left free. We should make sure that the free cash flow is not negative. Even if it is negative, we should make sure that the company has high growth in its numbers, that is profit growth rate, sales growth rate, etc. The average profits of every year was around 3,100 crores, whereas Eicher was earning around 1,500 crores over the last 5 years. So the average earning is almost double, that is Hero Motocorp's average earning profits after tax is almost double of Eicher Motors. In terms of market cap, both the companies are almost similar, although Eicher Motocorp has got a higher market cap against Hero Motocorp's 41,000 crores market capitalization. This is the value of the company in the market. When we look at the net worth, Eicher Motors net worth is lower than Hero Motocorp, yet got a higher market capitalization. That is, people are giving it, or investors are giving it much higher premium compared to Hero Motocorp. So net worth of Hero is around 14,000 crores, whereas Eicher's is around 9,500 crores. This is the actual value of the company. If it is liquidated tomorrow, then this is what will be left to be shared with the equity shareholders, or given to the equity shareholders. Next we look at the contingent liability. Both the company's contingent liability is very low at 121 crores when compared to the net worth. So basically we have to look at a contingent liability and compare that with the net worth. As a percentage of net worth, contingent liability should not exceed 20%. So in this case, it does not seem that it has exceeded that. Both the companies are almost debt free. Both debt to equity is at around 0.02, which is almost debt free. Interest coverage, that is what was the EBIT or earnings before interest and tax in the recent 12 months, and what was the interest the company was paying, or finance cost the company was paying against that EBIT. So we want the EBIT or profits or operating profits to be at least 4 times more than what it is paying as finance cost. So both the companies are in a very good situation to pay interest cost. That is there because their debt is very low, their interest payment is very low as well. Promoter holding, Hero Motocorp's promoter hold around 34%, whereas Eicher's hold around 49%, and none of the companies have pledged any of their shares. Let us look at debtors to sales ratio. This is the total amount of payment still to be collected from customers or debtors against the sales of 2019. So what we are trying to understand here is how much payment is to be collected from customers till date, that is March 2019. Against that, how much was the sales of 2019. So we see that the debtors were around 10% of the total sales, which is low. It should not exceed 30% of the sales, that is the collection should not exceed 30% of the sales. To give you an example, if the sales is 100, then debtors should not be more than 30. Eicher Motors debtors to sales is very low at 1.3, so it is very efficient in collecting quickly from its customers. And in fact, when we look at the debtor days, that is how much time it is giving its customers to pay back, Hero Motocorp is taking around 30 days, whereas Eicher is collecting payment from its customers very quickly at 3 days. Net profit margin last year was around 10%, whereas Eicher Motors net profit margin was around 22% last year, that is 2019. The dividend yield for Hero Motocorp at current price is around 4.2%, whereas Eicher Motors dividend yield is low, below 1%. So that concludes my analysis of both these companies. These are the top 55 companies I'll be analyzing, which are very good in all of their numbers. So both of these companies can be invested in very easily. Even if we keep it invested for 5-10 years, we are sure to make some money in this. Thank you for watching this video.